Alone again on a Saturday night? Well, you don't have to be, because there is a place where you're always welcome. Just outside of LaGrange rests the comfy, cozy confines of the destination for weary, lonely souls just like yourself. It's the Chicken Ranch. Come, let Madam Jessie Williams and her stable of lovely ladies make you feel like the most important John in the whole state. From Swedish and Oriental massage to reverse cowboy and butt stuff, the seasoned staff of the Chicken Ranch are well-trained, road-tested, and hosed off for your pleasure. That's the Chicken Ranch, just off Rocky Creek Road and Highway 71. Just behind the actual Chicken Ranch. The Chicken Ranch. Bring your pecker.
Before history was history, fools were we. Then we climbed a tree and finally we could see. Lo, then the internet made us smart, now know everything do we. Thus we share with thee these trifleries, till nobody learns a thing.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Bottom of the Barrel. On today's episode, me and the boys are going to talk about something we all love, and it's actually how we all kind of met way back in the day. Today's episode is about advertising and all the wacky things that go on around it. So, get yourself a drink, sit back, and enjoy.
It seemed to me like it might be fun for us to talk about the wonderful world of advertising. Particularly because each of us have had some interplay in the industry. All of us have done something in advertising as either a creative or a talent or some combination thereof. And there's lots of fun things to talk about on the topic, kind of, even starting with a brief history of advertising in the U.S. through today, and kind of some fun things we notice in modern advertising. So I thought it would be neat for us to visit on a few of these elements of advertising. And I figured it would be good to start by going around the table to introduce ourselves, as we always do, but with an added spin of mentioning our connection to the advertising industry.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I guess you started this, so you start this.
Okay. Hello, I'm Jay Hickman.
Ah.
I have been in the advertising industry for 20 years, kind of tangentially working in public relations, but every time for a advertising agency. So I've been the PR arm of any number of advertising agencies based in Houston. And so I've been kind of on the periphery of seeing all the sausage made. And then from time to time, I have also been a talent on a number of radio or TV commercials. So I've been able to see it from that end. Next.
John Swayze.
I'll go next because I think we should end. It's good to end on Kyle because he's certainly with the triumvirate we have here,
the linchpin
assembled. He is clearly the big dog.
I don't like the sound of.
I would just like to say, first of all, thank you, Jay, for picking this topic. I think it's a wonderful topic, and it really, I think it's way better than anal warts, which we originally were talking about doing. So
it's true. I mean, that's not without its merit.
No.
However, tonight I was just feeling something extra.
Yeah, and
this is why I came in. So I will be so unprepared because I have just pages and pages of notes on the anal warts.
Right.
But
the funny thing is,
blind.
Yeah.
I think Blue Star ointment was one of the greatest advertisements in all of history. Cures anal warts, tetter, and psoriasis. So
I think it treats anal warts.
I think it causes anal warts. Is what it does. I don't know. So much like Jay, not much like Jay. Jay's got far more experience in the PR world and working on the corporate side of advertising. I come in primarily as a talent, a voice actor, on-camera actor who's done countless commercials, more than I could bother to count.
more than anyone would want to count.
For the record, I was told in one of my first jobs in Houston to
Do not hire
not
John
cast
Swayze.
John
Yeah.
Swayze because he was already in every commercial in Houston.
Yeah,
The conflict of interest. Needle off the chart.
He can't be the voice of every
get more into that,
company.
but I will say in the mid '90s, I did throw all my eggs in the voiceover radio commercial, television commercial basket, and really did quite well. I will say, and a lot in large part to Kyle Jones. But then there was also a small.
In other words, I didn't listen to my boss.
right, and which
Put you in
I
there
think he
anyway.
promptly got fired and moved on to another agency. But I also, for a very brief period, fancied myself a bit of a copywriter, which I was stupidly mistaken to think of myself that way.
Don't say that.
But I had a small boutique little agency called Dude Creative, where my goal was to come up with fun radio and creative, mainly radio stuff.
So
And
you
I
did
had a-
everything except the fun and creative part.
Right. Yeah. I will tell you, I won't go into it now, but I did have a little bit of moderate success, and
Yes,
you
you're
know,
everywhere.
I was doing well, and I actually at one point I auditioned for something for one agency, and simultaneously he didn't know this, the person that owned the agency, but I was also pitching the same client with my copy. But he hired me to do a pitch for that client. Anyway, the bottom
This
line
all
is,
sounds highly illegal.
it was totally illegal. The whole thing is, but I actually won the client.
Previous statement redacted.
Yeah, so it was funny. But anyway, my forte is really, I tried it. My forte is not writing and stuff like that. It's more on the performance and talent side. So
Not to
that's kind of where I-
wormhole us, John, but would you mention from your history your time with BMC Software and Chevron? Were you semi in-house for those two companies?
So BMC Software, no, I was not. I was simply a talent. Chevron, I was, but that was more of the corporate video stuff. So I was doing corporate television and stuff like that. Also with Shell and Enron.
So here's what happens when the
Yeah.
pipe bursts.
Enron is really my fault. I'll just
Oh.
take the blame right now. It was completely my fault.
That's good. That's good. That's
But
big of you.
no, that was all more on the corporate side, not so much the advertising. That was more, if there was any advertising, it would have been B2B, which is something I'm sure
Got
you
it.
want to touch on later, Jay.
We certainly will. My memory of you at BMC was kind of like the house talent. Like they just wrapped their arms around you and had you do
We
everything.
need ourselves a voiceover. Call that Swayze
They
fella.
did. I was on camera and voice talent and did everything. Hey, we need this. I was that way, but I had a lot of clients like that. I was like for Builder Square, who's out of business. United Bank,
And
Bank
again,
United,
John
Bank
Swayze's
United,
fault.
who's out of business.
You have destroyed so many companies.
Minus touch.
Captain D's Seafood out of
Is
business.
that gone? Is that gone?
yeah.
Oh, Captain
The
D's.
premise was, if you want to go out of business, hire John Swayze.
John Swayze's your guy.
He's your guy.
Well, real quick, I mentioned BMC specifically because I remember you were so well ensconced there and doing so much work with them that at some point you were also the casting director for a couple of in-house videos.
Wow, how
And
convenient.
I was the beneficiary of that.
Yes.
One such video. So
Yeah, we
lots
did
of fun.
we did a
you didn't go with
video.
John Swayze on that one?
Easy.
Oh, we did a video that I got to cast and direct, and it was Jay, of course, was in it. As you were with the Shell video we did with the James Bond theme.
Right.
I
You
remember
were
that.
absolutely brilliant in. And
Whoa, let's just pump the
the,
brakes a little bit.
the
It's Father's Day,
BMC
Kyle.
one-
Give me a break.
Oh, I thought you were talking to me.
The BMC one was it was a spoof kind of thing, and it was a spoof on. There was this guy way back in the 80s and early 90s
Yeah.
who had this talking about advertising, which started in the print world, and this guy had this thing. He would come on television. He'd go, "I'm going to show you how I went from a 1-bedroom apartment to making over $10,000 a week with one small ad." And, it was like, I think you put the ad in the paper. I'm going to show you how to make $10,000 a week. Send me $10. And he goes, and I put that in 1,000 newspapers, and it was like,
it's almost like it formed a giant pyramid.
Something like that. Yeah. Except there was
Don
no
Laprie,
pyramid. It was
I believe.
just Don
Don
Laprie.
Laprie.
That's
There
right,
you go.
Don Laprie. And we did a spoof on that, Jay, and you were in that video. That's right.
Yeah.
And ours was based on, with the new 44 Magnum, you can have as much money as you want anytime you want. And it was fun. It was fun. BMC was one of those companies, kind of like Enron even, that just was they were like, let's have fun and do something fun. We all know it's a spoof. We know it's satire. We know it's
That's great.
We're going under. Let's go down blazing.
Yeah. We already have John Swayze on board. That's his specialty.
We know we're going to go out, so let's do it. For all those listening at home, BMC is still in business.
Oh,
Just
that's
relax.
a shame. So you failed.
Wow, way to ruin
Finally.
That's why they went ahead and fired me.
But yeah, I'm so glad we're doing this topic and with John at the table, because he's sort of a renaissance man of the field, having done a little of both sides. I have been exclusively talent, and then very heavy on the creative side is one Kyle Jones.
Yeah, that's my degree, is advertising. Many people are surprised that that's even a degree, or at least, especially at the time, that was a rarity. But anyway, I went to UT, went to the creative sequence. You start through
That's University of Texas, by the way, for those in Tennessee.
Oh, brother.
Yeah, they know. And
for everyone in Tacoma, that
go.
references a Texas university.
But yeah, so it was a great network. I got a job in New York after that. Went up there with some friends. Some of them are still very up there and very, very successful. So I got to work at a giant agency first with DMB was what it was called, and there was Procter and Gamble was just one client, and that's 1 million, bathroom products just all by itself. So anyway, got to work on the big, huge money stuff. And I got to fly to Paris. I did concepts for Always with Wings.
Ew.
Yeah.
I mean, great.
I was the only guy on the account.
I was going to say, when you're talking about tampons, who do we need? We need men on this. Get some men on this.
Right. I was
know
the
what they're
perfect
doing.
choice.
Very what women want.
So it was fun, but I got to go to Paris. Then eat snails. Those Always with
snails,
Wings.
is it not true? Is it true that in Paris they eat snails with like mayonnaise and?
Oh yeah. There were a bunch of different kinds.
They
of
eat them always with wings. Actually,
there was there were a lot of snails, but there's a reason why you've heard of escargot, because it was really, really good, very specific, very good. It was a pesto butter sizzling thing rather than some of them were cold, but there was 1 million different mayonnaises and 1 million different snails, and you make your combo. Anywho,
dude, that's what gets me though. I'm sorry to divert on this. 1 million different mayonnaises. That just freaks me out.
I'm exaggerating.
We got Dukes and Hellmann's and Miracle Whip, if you want to call it mayonnaise. But I'm just saying,
they don't call themselves mayonnaise.
So yeah, nobody wants to do that.
1 million different mayonnaises in France. I mean, is it?
Well, at any rate, so I did the big one, the big New York thing, then went back to Texas, went to Austin, and worked at a tiny place with like 6 people. So I got to work on the other end of things where there was no money and just, this one guy was kind of running this agency by the seat of his pants. And then 2 weeks before my wedding, that collapses. I get laid off, wind up in Houston, worked several agencies there, met the likes of John Swayze and some other Houston talent.
Where you were
totally different work, and
do not hire me.
No, right. All my companies that I worked on survived, so I don't know what you were doing. But anyway, I was on the copywriting side. They pair you up, a writer and an art director, and a designer can get involved too. And there is a difference between an art director and designer. Some do both. I started off as an art director, but your dog is yawning. I'm boring the dog already.
That happens.
So anywho, started as an art director, learned that and kerning and leading. Kimming is what happens when you kern too tight. So the letters coming together, distance between the letters is kerning, distance between the lines is leading, and you can drive yourself absolutely bananas and stay up all night futzing with that in different color palettes. I would think,
Kyle, I would think that like when you're dealing with that, especially as an art director, you write the copy and then the art director goes, this is how it's going to look. I would think it would be absolutely mind-numbingly just insane for somebody, because there's got to be somebody out there that goes, I think they're a little too close together. I think they're a little too far apart. It's like,
so that's more of a sickness of the person who wants to do that. And the most of the change,
they're there.
Yeah.
I mean, those people, because sometimes those people are like, what did you get hired to do? I'm the letter distance decider. And it is my job to make sure that it looks just right, because you're like, 1 centimeter off and no one's going to buy this cereal.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
No. It's a strange, very specific world. Every word counts. Every little bit counts. Mm-hmm. And then you see ads where you can tell that no one gave two craps about any of it. And, sometimes they're just as effective. The guy yelling and screaming on TV with his phone number and, chainsawing things in half, they sell too.
So, and that's at the end of the day, I mean, what is the ultimate goal of advertising?
Get you in the door, put butts in seats.
Put butts in seats, get you to buy the stuff, right?
Yeah.
I'm dressed
sometimes it's just awareness, mattress. But yes, ultimately.
Awareness, we could get all into that. I think it's time we've introduced ourselves. Let's not all suck each other's dicks just yet.
They're called microphones now, and sure. Let's move on. So I don't want to dwell too much in history, although there's some fun stuff to explore there. But it's been around for a while.
Yeah.
The art of advertising. It started in colonial America in the early 1700s. Allegedly, I haven't cross-referenced my resources here.
Ben Franklin?
1704, maybe predating him a little bit. An advertisement in a Boston newspaper.
Yeah.
Was the first. I don't know what it was for.
For a tea party?
Some would say that graffiti is kind of the first advertising. It's guerrilla advertising, but nonetheless. But
they had graffiti in 1704.
There's Egyptian graffiti. So
right now, Kyle, we're focused on advertising in the United States of America.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm
okay.
Have you been to Vegas? They have like every country there now. So maybe their Sanskrit graffiti is.
This is exhausting. Anyway,
let's go back to introduction, continue. Shall we?
The first billboard appeared in 1835 for the Ringley Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus.
And a billboard, does that mean like car billboard, a traveling, or just a poster?
It may have well been a traveling, like the thing on the side of the
meant for drivers,
the elephant cart.
Or on the side of a train, maybe.
I dig
the train roll.
Or that guy in the back of the truck, the politician guy going, vote for Tommy G. That guy.
God, if he were running right now, I'd vote for him.
They didn't have those speaker trucks in 1835, but that's right in line.
I'm a little ahead. Okay, I'll wait till we get to Pappy O'Daniel.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but it's been around in some form for a long time, but particularly, this area was rich in the 1800s with the actual literal snake oil salesman.
Yeah.
And they would have some sort of little posters or flyers put together like, come try Dr. McGillicuddy's Meet the Color Mixer.
Yeah.
Curious what else, yeah? So around then it was kind of hitting its stride in terms of creativity and manipulativeness.
Yeah.
So, quick question for you, Jay. Quick question.
Yeah.
So, if you went to the county fair, or you went to some small town in the West, or wherever it might be in the early 1800s, and you had Doc Watt Doogie's snake oil phantasmagoria, whatever, was that advertising if they just had a sign, or was that because?
Well, no, they would post the signs up before they arrive, like a traveling show sort of thing.
But because I think
somebody ahead on horseback with some flyers for the local pharmacy.
In my investigation, there's a difference between like what the advertising started to do versus what the hucksters and the snake oil snail.
Well, they weren't all hucksters.
The snail oil salesmen were selling mayonnaise, and they know what they were doing. So
snail is behind it all.
Big snail, yeah. So I don't know. I mean, that's so.
No, it's a good question. What is considered advertising? Because
just flashing a word up.
Propaganda is also a lot of times presented as advertising.
Yeah. But if you're looking at the goal of advertising, as stated earlier, which is A, to build awareness for the product, B, build preference for the product, to get people to shell out their money. Like snake oil salesmen had the same goals.
Yeah.
So whatever they were doing toward those goals was, quote, advertising.
Yep. I bet it was pee.
I don't think so.
I think he just peed in the bottle, and it was all his big laugh in the long run.
I mean,
they just rubbed pee all over their sores. My pee.
How do they make it oily, though?
If you were bitten by or stung by a jellyfish, that would work.
There you go.
If it worked for that, it's got to work for other things.
As far as oily goes, Shay, I think that's a matter of diet.
Here in Topeka, Kansas, the mayor himself uses my sea urchin cure. Works every time, 80% of the time.
Anyway, please continue, Jay.
Well, I was curious to learn more about John's in-depth research.
The
difference between advertising and hucksters.
It was about the 1880s where actually true advertising. Some of the big companies like Sears and Roebuck and Montgomery Ward,
the catalog,
the catalog thing, and really Sears Roebuck was the original, in my opinion, was like the original Amazon. They had a catalog that went out to everyone that they could send it out to, and it's like
you could order a house.
And you could get like, hey, we live in Wyoming and we need a stove. They have one at Sears and Roebuck. It'll be here in 12 months. Now, we'll be dead and frozen by then, but by golly, we'll get it. So, but they did have that, you could order stuff, with the things like the telegraph were obviously very important. The
rail system.
Rail system, certainly important, because you could put your sign on the side of the train, and
you could make promises you could keep, right? You could tell someone in Wyoming that they can bring you the penis pump,
right? Yeah, and that will keep you warm. So I think, but what's amazing to me, and especially when you put this into dollars like of today, but in the 1880s, the advertising revenue generated in the country was about $200 million
in the 1880s. Wow.
Yeah. By the 1920s, it had gone to like 3 billion. And you think about that. I mean, that's $3 billion in 1920. That's like,
that's why I wound up in Paris eating snails.
Yeah.
And for one
snails and mayonnaise you can eat for $3 billion in 1920.
I was there for a week, and
I aim to find out.
I was there for a week, and our meeting was 45 minutes. Billions
and
of dollars.
That's why we pay so much for mayonnaise right now.
Makes sense.
It's insane.
Big mayo.
So, moving forward into the modern era of advertising, I wonder if some of you have noted some annoying habits of the art form, some elements of advertising in today's landscape that strike you particularly funny. For me, one of them is specific to radio ads.
Yeah.
Because they don't have the benefit of flashing the brand on the screen, the logo on the screen,
no logo,
the name of the company or the catchphrase on the screen.
Different animal.
They have to invest a lot in what they call frequency and repetition.
Reach and frequency.
So, and specifically within a 30-minute, a 30-second or a 60-second spot, they've got to repeat the brand name or the catchphrase a lot so that afterward, when you turn off your car and get out and walk into the mall, you'll be like,
still echoing in your ear.
So you'll notice the name of the brand on one of the storefronts and be like, hey, they feel like an old, comfortable friend. Let me walk on in. So in radio, sometimes the way they do this is to pair up a couple of people. Like in advertising today, radio, they love the very natural read, a couple of
the
friends.
Back and forth.
Like we don't have people in a recording studio. We've brought our microphones into a living room in USA, America, and we've overheard a couple of friends talking about a need they have.
I bet they have a conundrum.
Let's listen in. And so there will be invariable something like,
I'll help you out here, Jay.
Oh, thank you. There'll be something like, hey, Kyle, why the long face? And Kyle goes something to the tune of, well, my attic is overrun with squirrels. They're all over the place, just pitter-pattering all night long and chewing up the insulation. It's a real mess. And then the other guy goes, well, that's no problem. All you need is McGrath Pest Control.
McGrath Pest Control?
That's right. McGrath Pest Control. They're the very best in pest control in the greater Houston area.
You mean McGrath Pest Control in Houston?
That's right. McGrath Pest Control from Houston. Founded by Jimmy McGrath.
From Houston?
Yeah. Right here in Houston.
Man, I need some pest control.
And then you've got squirrels. There's one thing to do. Call McGrath's and get it done.
Hey.
McGrath.
We'll work on that.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
no, but yeah, just repeat it. And God forbid you have a phone number, which is so outdated. Right. First off, you really got to stop screaming phone numbers 1,000 times on anything.
But they'll likely do a website.
At one point, there was no option. You couldn't give the website. You had to give the phone number.
Of course. But people still do, is all I'm saying.
Oh, I know. It's amazing. Because really, at the end of the day, in advertising, all you really want to just remember McGrath's Exterminator. That's all you need.
But from Houston?
Yeah, from Houston. You don't want to remember him from, Bastrop.
And so at the 45-second mark, Kyle is like, that sounds great. How do I get a hold of McGrath Pest Control? And you're like, super easy. It's McGrathPestControl.com.
McGrathPestControl.com.
And then Kyle is like, I'm so sorry. My pen ran out of ink. Would you say it one more time?
But real slow.
I'm sorry. You said McGrathPestControl.what? .com.
I remember an era when we were all trying to convince our clients that they didn't need to say www anymore. But yeah, that's just there. Just you can skip that now and say BillyBobs.com. You don't have to say the www anymore because everyone knows it. Or Google will just kind of assume that. But you have the most ridiculous discussions sometimes in the advertising.
And they're reflected in these 60-second commercials with very ridiculous discussions that no one would ever actually have in real life, but they're passed off as real life. And for some reason, we keep buying it.
Well, I can tell you it's probably not due to the artful nature of that discussion. Probably more the frequency of how many times you heard that ad.
Right. Which reminds me too of the clients who are like, are you sure my logo's big enough on this print ad?
Oh, make the logo bigger is the whole thing.
Let's make it a little bigger.
Yeah.
let's say McGrath's Pest Control one. Can we fit it in?
Mm-hmm.
We've got 60 whole seconds.
Right. I bet people have forgotten that phone number by now. We could probably say it again.
Does the dumb guy actually need to say the word termites and carpenter ants? Can't he say McGrath Pest Control in the same number of syllables? Let's do that.
Let's take a quick break, folks. Check out this message from this week's Honest to Goodness sponsor.
If you like your horror stories with a touch of psychological drama, then we have the next book on your shelf. What the Dead Can Do, a thriller. Author Peter Roche, creator of Future Skinny and My Dead Friend Sarah, is back for another mind-bending, seat-squirming tale of being in the wrong family at the wrong time. When a commercial flight crashes, all 184 people on board perish, with the exception of a 2-year-old boy, Ethan, who is entrusted to family friends Matthew and Nicole per his late parents' wishes. From the afterlife, Ethan's parents, Tag and Amanda, watch helplessly as Nicole's secret addictions, the family's financial struggles, and the public's fascination with their story ignite events that threaten their son. Soon, Amanda's grief turns into an insidious obsession. Ethan belongs with her and no one else, and she sets out to reunite with her son by any means possible, including killing Ethan herself. After Amanda learns how to possess the living, only Tag stands in her way. He must protect his child, even if the consequences of his actions mean he may never see his wife or son again. What the Dead Can Do will get you right in the guts, page after page, as the love of family is tested in ways no amount of therapy could ever subdue. What the Dead Can Do is available at Penguin Random House, Barnes & Noble, and just about anywhere else books are sold. What the Dead Can Do, a thriller by Peter Roche. Order yours today. Your family will be so proud.
Okay, we are back. Has anyone seen my coaster?
I once had a radio ad or a joke within a radio ad taken out because it might offend deaf people. Radio ad.
And a radio ad.
Go on. I'm listening.
It was all
I'm watching.
it was all about vision and seeing things, and so there was a running gag of being blind to something, and then the end little button joke on the end was one of the things you're talking about, of repeating something. And
Ad infinitum.
Right. Say it again. Just repeat it. It wasn't grotesquely as frequent as what you were saying, but he said the thing, and they go, "Wait, what did you say?" And he said, "What are you, deaf?" It was a counter to the all the blind jokes at the beginning. No one was worried about that, by the way, because blind people don't drive, but deaf people listen. To
The blind
radio.
people are never going to see the radio commercial.
But
Hey, so
a weird discussion, a bizarro.
Kyle, so I know in your experience, you know one of the worst enemies of any radio or television or ad or print ad is actually one of the worst enemies is actually the client.
The client is usually
because the clients always, they don't know what they want. They have gone to the extent of hiring a PR firm and an advertising agency, and y'all are experts at this. Help me out. And then the minute you come up with all this beautiful concept and strategy and plan, they go, "That's great, but should we say our name more? Why do we do that? Why are we doing that?" So, but dude, you've got to share the thing you did for IKEA, because to me that was one of the most brilliant things ever. It's one of the most brilliant ad things I think you've ever come up with. And they just shoot you down.
I don't. Well, are you talking about
IKEA? They're not a sponsor.
That's fine. No, it's a long time gone. I'm sure the statute of limitations is all.
They're not going to be a sponsor now. I can tell you that. So that's fine.
No, well, I got lucky to be here in Houston and have a guy who ran IKEA was kind of going rogue and not taking their regional spots that they were sending them. And he was saying, "No, that's just not going to work in this area. You know, someone from I think the hub. Hub is in New York, and so they were sending advertising for them to air, and he just didn't like it. He saying, no, this is Houston. It needs a different vibe to it. And so we came up with the whole thing that it was a soap opera that took place within the IKEA itself. And so we had like 4 or 5 kind of vignette stories. It was always the same little group and always dramatic. And that, they live there at the IKEA. So everything still has the tags on it, and it becomes kind of part of the fun and the jokery. And he loved it. And we did it, and we shot it. And then they all had different Facebook accounts, all these characters, and they would bicker with each other online. But soon, once New York found out that what was happening, we got it. They yanked it all off. It wasn't in brand, I guess, at the time. But it was fun to get some.
So it wasn't actually the client here. It was
no
New York corporate.
It was the agency that we weren't really affiliated with. We were kind of working for the
agency that didn't come up with brilliance.
No, I mean, IKEA has plenty of awesome ads.
Speaking of, I know one came around at the time the show Hoarders was huge on television. Everybody was watching Hoarders.
Yeah.
There was an amazing billboard in the Houston area for IKEA that it was just so concise and clever. I can recite it for you. It's not hard.
Okay.
I think the graphic on the billboard was a big stack of IKEA kind of office filing or organization cabinets. And the copy on the billboard, very simple, said, "It's not hoarding if it's organized."
Hey,
IKEA. Yeah. Kyle Jones wrote that and totally didn't remember it.
I didn't. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. One of I had an ad that I did in college that was we could kind of pick our own clients and do our own thing. So I had one where I decided I was going to do Home Depot, and it was just kind of a dog with a dog house, and the line was about my tagline for this series was Home Depot, some assembly desired. And so that was my little thing in college, and it got a good grade, I suppose. But 15, 20 years later, I'm working for IKEA, and I go, wait a second. That old line might apply here one day, and I got to actually put it up on the bill.
Wow. I like very much that your professor didn't steal it and go use it 2 years later.
Yeah, right.
So that at the IKEA, people would be like, "Hey, wait a second."
People do steal things. It's an ugly little business.
That's part of advertising, right? People steal things.
I'm afraid so.
I think one of the funniest things, in Texas we have, I guess they're elsewhere now, but in Texas, one of the big things is Buc-ee's.
Yeah,
Buc-ee's is for those of our listeners or our listener who doesn't know.
Hey, I'm listening. Jay's listening.
Yeah. Keep that S on there.
Buc-ee's is a giant gas station convenience store they're dotted around the state, and you pull in there and it's got clean bathrooms, and it's a huge convenience store and all these things. But one of the things that they're noted for is their clean bathrooms. And then there's billboards all over the state of Texas, Buc-ee's 98 miles, and then you can go. Things like that. And they're kind of funny, but one of them was
that means pee.
Yeah. One of them was 2 reasons to stop at Buc-ee's. Number 1 and number 2. I just thought that was very funny. That was Kyle Jones worthy, I thought.
I think the same guy, Lou Congelio, who told me not to use John Sway's name, was working on those very early on.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, what one of the things I wanted to touch on tonight was our favorite act.
He hired me.
And one of my all-time favorites is also a billboard. I got to see this down in Corpus Christi when I was there for an event, and it was for Whataburger, which originated in Corpus Christi.
Yes.
And
Texas.
For our listener who may not be from Texas, next to Buc-ee's, there's Whataburger, for something every Texan knows. The billboard was extremely simple. It was all black background, all white lettering, no graphic except for the Whataburger logo, quite small, bottom right corner. And the white text said the following. Sure. You could find, hold on.
Oh, easy.
Oh, yeah. Sure. You could find a cheaper hamburger, but then you'd have to eat it.
It's good. It's got swagger.
Yeah.
It's got real swagger.
Yeah.
I like it. I got to work on a hospital thing where it was one of the big hospitals. Houston, Texas has a lot of hospitals, and the med center is world renowned, and they do compete for your illness,
health.
I guess,
For your health.
and I got to do a bill.
You see, they don't want to cure you.
Oh,
They just want to treat you.
Yeah, good one. Hit you on that carrot. Anyway, it was. I don't even remember the beginning of the line, but it ended with "Thank you for your patience," and it was talking shit to the other hospitals. Patience spelled differently, John. You look bewildered.
I know. I'm with you.
My favorite TV spot was also a local one, and also from our friends at Whataburger. And I don't remember the entire script, but they were selling their breakfast offering. And as a Texan, I guess I would say, among burger chains that also offer breakfast, Whataburger makes a very strong offering.
Yes, yeah.
They do have a
nationally. McDonald's is well known as doing quite well at all meals of the day.
Yeah.
Whataburger also does very well for themselves, but are lesser known. So at some point, Whataburger was really punching the breakfast, and they have their announcer. And John, you might even know who this is. He's an old timey.
Yeah, he was doing it for a long time.
He sounds mid-60s, late 60s, just good old boy type.
I've been here a long time, and I'm on a Blairberry baby.
Yeah, and I'm here to tell you, Whataburger. And so the basic premise of the commercial was Whataburger serves great breakfast, and they do it in large quantities. So like if you want to bring breakfast to the swim meet or your office or some family gathering, it's a good choice. And they show a guy clearly hustling to get ready for his day. It looks like he's late and harried. And the good old boy announcer, very calm. He's like, it's important to get breakfast. Even if you're running behind, you should make time for breakfast. Now, here's an idea. You could stop by Whataburger and get breakfast for the whole office, because that way you won't be the guy who's running late.
Yeah.
You'll be the guy who brought breakfast.
Yeah.
And everybody likes that guy.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Just like such a good.
And it's an emotional attachment,
Yeah.
they're bringing in. Now, you're a freaking hero, dude.
Everyone has been running late for work and worried sick. And at some point, I think most people have walked in the door, probably on time, but walked in with a big plate of pastries and been like,
but if you show up late, everyone forgets that you're late if you've got it on.
No, that brings up a really good point, because in the world of advertising, there are, and Kyle, both of you touched on this, but there's the buy my product for only it was mainly Jay. Buy my product for only $1.99. I'm cheaper than the mate, or we kill every bug in the building. But then there's also
I'm going to help you with this stuff, John. Later, we'll talk.
Okay, I'm not in advertising. Did I say that? But this is why
John needs
this is
a
why
script.
Luke said never hire John. because I kept coming up with ideas for script copy changes. But then there's the feel good. There's like, we're not selling anything overtly. We're making you feel good about our product.
Look
So
at this mountaintop and this river stream.
And insurance is the best thing, right? It's like you're in good hands with Allstate.
Well,
Like
insurance has gotten ridiculous.
Well, that's a bad example because they all suck. But I'm just saying that no one ever goes, come into Allstate today, and for only $19.95 a month, you'll get they don't
talk about insurance anymore. It's a caveman and a gecko, and it's bonkers.
Yeah. So it's or there's Flo, God bless her.
She talks a little bit. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
I'd love to be Flo. I'd love to.
The one guy's wearing khakis. I get it.
I'd love just to meet her.
To be with Flo.
But you're right, John, about the emotional appeal idea of a commercial.
It's tugging on your heartstrings and tugging on your emotional levels, as opposed to, like in Houston, for our listener, we have a store. It's a furniture store called Gallery Furniture, and mattress.
Very subtle work by those guys.
He dresses up in a mattress, and he used to anyway, and he's like, Gallery Furniture will save you money. And it was all about saving money. It was all about the cheap. Come into me. We will get it delivered today, and you will have it tonight. And it's cheap. And I don't care how much I don't make on it. I will sell it to you. And, and he made gazillions of dollars doing that.
That's not a real number.
Bazillion. Sorry. And
right, no, Mattress Mac is a legend in just pure frequency, unrelenting. He's everywhere. No matter what channel you were on, he's there screaming at you. No matter what time of day, he was always there. And there is a local slot within every show that is required by law, I believe. And that's where you get all those phone numbers from local merchants with the phone numbers and the crazies with, like your wreck lawyers, car wreck lawyers, and just your guys are really looking for some just pure attention. They're the loudest ones usually.
Right.
So one element of this discussion that I was very interested in having was to talk about commercials, their purpose, and do they even work? Sometimes some of the most popular commercials are popular for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
While I was with a local advertising agency, one of the founders of the agency came to all of the departments of the agency, including the PR department where I was, just to give us a quick rundown on his philosophy for advertising, just so we were aware, which I liked a lot. Because in PR world, like, we weren't that focused on it, but it was nice to have that umbrella idea of, here's what our agency's about. Here's what we're based on. Here are the principles of our kind of advertising strategy.
Yeah.
And so he talked us through his thoughts on the matter, and there was really good chat. And one of his points was, you find sometimes, particularly in TV advertising, a lot of creativity for creativity's sake.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you think of your last Super Bowl, some of your favorite commercials from the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And he named them. He named a few, like the one with this hilarious character, or the one with this very
famous
catchy
person.
catchphrase.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Or the one with XYZ celebrity. Do you remember what brand that was?
Mm-hmm.
And very few people could name it.
Well,
and he was like, that's exactly the point. They go to all this trouble for Super Bowl. They spent $5 million for 30 seconds so that you would come away having a good feeling about their brand.
Yeah.
but you don't remember what the
You
brand
missed
was.
it. Right.
You remember that they're funny and clever, and you have good feelings when you're around them.
Yeah, sometimes that funny little hilarious story isn't has nothing to do with the actual product. So there's not even a link there.
Yeah,
that was always a key we were taught. Like, if you're going to go wacky, it at least has to have
the relevance.
Yeah, the joke, the solve, the whatever needs to be product related. You need to show.
I think the Energizer Bunny even had that problem. Because I remember, I remember though, man.
Just said it by name, dog.
But that's now. But I remember when that thing first came out, it was like, the battery bunny, the Duracell. Was it Duracell or Energizer? I remember that very, very very vividly. Just like
you very vividly remember that you don't remember.
Shut up.
Okay, we're having a problem.
So, real quick question for both of you, because you are both in or have been in the advertising game, certainly on the corporate side. I mean, Jay and PR, and Kyle is a writer,
agency
for
side.
various agencies.
It's called the agency side.
The agency side. Sorry. Yeah, right. I worked at Chevron. I was on the corporate side. But we talked about this earlier, but advertising, in the 1800s, and a lot of it was obviously print, and then the next thing to come in was radio, and then eventually television came in. Before actually that, I would say there was radio and then movies, because they might advertise during a movie, like before a movie started. Like
there's a big
Real Cream brings you blah, 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 blah.
Before the movie started. Okay,
those are the first.
And then, of course, and radio and television.
Bugs Bunny was pre-movie stuff.
The funny happy hour brought to you by Colgate. It was big advertisers,
mentions, sponsorships,
big stuff. But I mean, what do you guys think? So, like that, but for a long time, and certainly at the start of my career, and I would say y'all's as well, your mediums were newspaper, magazine, or print, radio, and television. That was it.
Those are the basic.
And
ones.
when the internet came,
those are your 4 food groups,
right? When the internet came in,
airplanes with the little flag behind it.
Well, yes, I mean that's. I mean, good Lord, dude, that's a
the real people mover.
Skywriting,
That's skywriting. I mean, golly, that's crazy. But I mean, I think the biggest game changer of all has been the internet. And so, I mean, not only was it a game changer, like how do we do this? I mean, it also became a game changer in how do we pay our actors? How do we pay our talent now? Because there's so many
They're
things.
still working that out. I mean, the NFTs is part of that.
That's the reason for the strikes and stuff, and streaming and all this stuff. But that's got to be the biggest game changer of all, I think, in the recent.
Right, there's no more advertising residuals, are there? All gone?
Yeah, there are.
Oh,
sure.
I guess you have to be like a giant national brand.
But it's got to be a national brand, because, like, even in the days, like, I think when you were at your agency or the different agencies, you could go, hey, we're going to run, because every television show or whatever has we've got the national spots we're going to run, but we leave a little bit for the local spots, right?
Yeah, there's a commercial break that's all local. Yeah,
right.
That's Mattress Matt. That's where he goes.
Exactly. He's not going to be running. He could run during the Super Bowl, but he's running in that segment that's designated for
the one after him is going to be a lawyer about getting run over by an 18-wheeler.
Right, which is so important. But like even
Texas Hammer.
It doesn't happen often, but when it does, you're going to want the Texas Hammer.
Radio is now, you don't hear many radio spots that are not the DJ.
Oh, like a live read.
The product.
Yeah. I remember one thing that IKEA did here in Houston was they created a deal with the radio stations to become a landmark during traffic and weather. So when the helicopter's up, we're just west of the IKEA, rather than just west of highway this and highway that.
Yeah, this intersection.
Yeah, they became they were paid to become a landmark within the city.
That didn't really
that's interesting.
last.
I mean, they tried.
It was all right.
was
I liked
okay.
it. Yeah, it's a good effort. But yeah, I don't hear that anymore these days.
Yeah.
You got to try something.
Well, it's like your Google Maps when that pops up, and then there's some like, why are they telling me about the chicken shack? Why is that over here? I didn't search for the chicken shack. I'm looking for the post office, but that thing popped up on my map. That's because, same sort of incentive for a company to be part of it. Things.
You both have reminded me of one more annoying thing common to radio commercials these days, which is the commercial that features a talent that is a talent, like you're hearing a recording session, and you'll hear the sound engineer go, "All right, take one from McGrath's Pest Control Company, go." And the talent is an idiot and cannot read a teleprompter.
They always are, Jay Hickman.
Most of the
John
time.
Swayze.
That's why that's why they
Unless
were
you
told
fired
do not
John
hire
Swayze.
John Swayze. He's an idiot.
But
Hey.
you've certainly heard these. And the sound engineer is like endlessly patient, like almost there. It's McGrath's, actually, not McGrath's.
Let's keep saying that name over and over again and again and again.
I think Jay's got some stock in
This episode of Bottom of the Barrel, sponsored by McGrath's Pest Control Company.
Oh, that was really good. That was really good. Could you give me that one more time? But when you say McGrath's, what you're saying, say it one more time for me.
This episode of Bottom of the Barrel, sponsored by McGrath's.
You see, it's right there. When you say McGrath's.
Yeah?
McGrath's. Say McGrath.
McGrath's.
Okay, that's good. That's close.
It sounds kind of like McGrath's. I want to say in my head McGrath's because of rats.
But you're saying
like
McGrath.
rats in the attic.
And say you're saying McGrath's.
Yeah, McGrath's. That is better.
All right, let's say it one more time.
Okay. Anyway, that commercial. But there's a variation on that commercial.
The client goes, "Could we get a woman?"
Can we say McGrath's one more time?
Can we have the idiot talent be female? Thank you. The idiot talent is never female, by the way.
No,
not
anymore.
Jay,
not
going
not
there.
today.
Not
today.
No, not happening.
Yeah, that comes to a I don't know how it is these days, but when I was initially going,
I don't know how it is.
I'm
not alive anymore.
No,
but
well,
I was.
Casting for ads,
sure,
was a very special experience because you had they had all the money in the world, so some of them, and so you'd have a long line of people, and so you really have to weed it out. I mean, you have to cut this down drastically. And so you couldn't just be, no one could just be rude about it, right? Even though some people were. They were when I first started, and then it lightened up a little bit. And the word was too, T-O-O. They are too blank. And you can, with not much skill or experience in this world, understand what everyone's saying. Oh, they're a little too ethnic. Meant one thing, which you can imagine. Oh, they're a little too urban. Oh, whoa. They're a little too fluttery. They were saying everything but the words.
I'll never forget. Somebody said, "You're a little too John Swayze."
Oh, yeah.
I know who said that.
We're not looking for that. We wanted a John Swayze type, but not
John.
Not John Swayze. That's no good.
You need to be John Swayze adjacent.
And that is something that always
that's been my whole career.
That's something though that's always flustered me as an actor is just
being too John Swayze.
You get people. No, you don't. My biggest hurdle is being
because it's bothered me a lot.
Well,
you are too John Swayze.
It's been being me. No, it's just that you get people that are in there, and especially, I mean, especially if you're in a session where you've got like the engineer got to be there doing the radio.
Are we on a train?
You've got the client you've got the client associate, you've got the writer, you've got the client. What do you call the account rep?
Account executive.
Account executive. You got like
The client's
eight people in the room.
chauffeur, I think, is normally there.
No, the client, the agency has an account executive who is basically there to just suck the client's cock at every chance.
Mm-hmm.
They are the yes man from the agency.
And when the client says something like, that was really nice, but do you think? And the AC goes, yeah.
AE.
Oh, yeah. Or the AE. Oh, yeah. Yeah. We're
right.
Oh, totally think that. Yeah. I'm right on board with you. John, could you do it in Yiddish? I mean, it's just like, oh my God. I remember I did some stuff for the Houston Astros one time. And I went in to the agency. The agency was like, John, we loved your audition, the way you did it. It's just, that's what we want. We don't want this to be a hard sell. And oh my God, how many times have we heard this? We don't want it to be a hard sell. We don't want it to be over the top. We want it to be like just a loving feeling, just
emotional,
grab your heartstrings and just, hey man, the Houston Astros are there for you. You be there for them.
You've got
whatever it was.
You've got your hand cupping underneath.
Oh yeah.
Talk to them.
And then they go, oh God, that was great. Oh my gosh, I'm crying over here. Could we try one more? Maybe a little more hard sell.
Yeah, maybe you yell and scream.
Yeah. So by the time you're finished with it, it's like, the Houston Astros really love you. That was great. God, that's what we wanted. Yeah. Oh, and
I mean,
and then your client, you're like, as an actor, I look at it, the writer, I look at it, Kyle or whoever it might be, and they're just shaking their head like, dude, I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened.
I gotta ask.
But the account executive is like, yay. Yeah. And the client's like, yay.
All support falls away.
God, man.
I must ask, John Swayze, after a session like that, you leave the studio, you arrive at home, maybe a day passes. Have you ever received a call where they're like, so we need to re-record? Like where
I've gotten a call like
executive lost the battle back at the office.
Because they usually say, we're going to recast. But that's that's fine with a
you're gonna actually save this company. We need you to destroy.
No, because what they've done is they've actually gotten 5 or 6 takes with me doing it the way that.
So the nice soft one is
the writer
they have it available.
And I can only imagine. And Kyle, I mean, I feel for you because you're a writer. It's as an actor, when you come in and you get a spot like that, you're like, oh, this is great. It's something as an actor, I can sink my teeth into. I can really give you something, give you some love and give you some real emotion and just, and then you end up going, Astro tickets today, and it's like,
yeah, no,
okay. But as a writer, I know that you're disappointed and you're frustrated. But usually, to answer your question, Jay, generally we've already got that take, so it's really up to.
You mean they went back to the first take? Unbelievable, unheard of.
And I will say this again. I don't know if any of our listeners were able to listen to this, but there was one person in Houston, and I know you know who this is, Jay and Kyle.
Okay,
there was one person in Houston that was an absolute queen of convincing the client that they're wrong, and the advertising agency, right? And that was Z Jennings. Z was a master of listening to the client, going, oh yeah, yeah, and so yeah. So what we're going to do we're going to do it that way. But I really think you're going to want to hear this other thing. Yeah, and she just had a magic touch, man. She was amazing, and it would end up being the way the advertising agency wanted it,
Z
was awesome.
As a creative, you, of course, once you find an account person who is going to go to the line for you, which is few and far between, Well, you stick with them and you try to latch onto their clients so that you can actually get cool stuff done.
But
Otherwise, it's all phone numbers.
In all truthfulness, I mean, you know what? As a creative, and when you find that person that has that magical touch, I mean, yeah, you latch onto him, because at the end of the day, that's the reason you hired the advertising agency, was to bring some magic to it.
Now,
you're selling toilet bowl cleaners.
That was a big difference when I moved from to go. One of the drawbacks, I guess, of going to New York first was true. That whole, we were hired to do a thing, and we're not talking to the owner of Procter and Gamble. We're talking to a marketing head of whatever product we're working on at the time. Mm-hmm. So it's not their nickel. Right. It's not that guy's nickel. When I came back to Houston and you're doing an independent businessman's or woman's business, then they are much more invested and scared.
And skittish. Yeah, for sure.
They have to. I mean, it's their money, which I totally get. And I want, and you want to help them even more, coming from the big stuff to the small stuff. You wanted to help the small guy. It's like, oh, dude, I've got all this big world experience in this. Trust me, I can, we can do something that really makes a difference here, but it's really hard to make that sell. It's a lot of time it ends up with putting the business owner on the billboard, and nobody wants that.
No one does.
Except that guy.
Unless you're the hammer.
Jim Adler, Texas Hammer. So, hearkening back to something you said just a couple of minutes ago, John, about being an actor and having something you can really sink your teeth into. Mm-hmm. I had one final segment of this podcast topic, and I know that we're coming up on time.
No.
I thought it would be fun to circle back to where we began, the history of advertising, and some fun stuff from the early days of U.S. radio.
Oh, okay.
So like between the 30s and 50s. I found a couple of old scripts from a couple radio spots that I thought it might be fun for us to do a live read together.
Who am I playing, Jay?
I've got direction already.
Oh, excuse me.
But yeah, Sean, you should find in your email.
Oh, yeah,
embedded.
I got it. Who
good,
am
good,
I?
good. So I found two that were fun, and they're both two-person spots. So I would be glad to play. Like, I've heard the originals of these, so I'd be glad to play director for both.
Oh, great.
Yes,
okay.
Yes,
and tell you fellas kind of how the spot goes. For Anchor Hawking, whatever that is, we'll find out after the commercial's over.
Yeah. Can I be the announcer?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I'll be Edelbert.
Yeah.
Please be Edelbert. And Edelbert, in case you haven't read ahead, John, Edelbert is a dumbass.
Why do you think I picked the announcer?
The announcer is very smart and knows everything.
Right.
Including everything about Anchor Hawking, the most famous name in glass.
When would this commercial have come out originally?
Great question. This one sounded to me like late 40s.
Okay, great. So, Jay, why don't you set up for our audience listener what we're going to do, and then give us a 3, 2, 1, and then we'll...
Okay, great.
All right. I get to start, Jay. Is there any music or anything?
It's not a contest, Kyle. I get to start.
Well, I'm going to win anyway.
You're the announcer. Of course you get to start.
Okay.
So, yeah, these were, and thank you, John, because you reminded me, like, these commercials were frequently produced in-house during a radio show.
Oh, man.
So, like, there would be live entertainment.
So something just happened, like a band played.
Right.
And they cut over to us,
Or it was a dramatic radio show, like
The Battling Bickersons
Shadow
or something like that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes, the
Yeah,
Bickersons.
Great.
Oh,
Great.
yeah.
So it was like a dramatic or comedic radio show with actors, or it was a music show, the Glenn Miller Orchestra or what have you.
How dare you?
And then the ad folks are in studio.
Yeah, ready to go.
And so like the lights go down on the main stage where the orchestra was, so the actors were, and then lights come up on a side stage. And the audience is seeing everything. And we are 3, 2, 1.
What's puzzling you, Edelbert?
One of those quizzes. And it says here, what are these men famous for? Sidney Porter, Samuel Clemens, Charles Dodson.
Well, they're all great authors.
How come I've never heard of them?
Well, you would if they printed their pen names. They are O. Henry, Mark Twain, and Lewis Carroll.
Well, I'll be. Those names are famous. Everybody knows them.
Mm-hmm. Just like everybody knows Anchor Hawking, the most famous name in glass.
Ba, 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 ba.
Man, everybody knows Hawking. Anchor Hawking.
Yeah, which is funny because it's like, well, why don't you say their first name and then give them their like pen name? Let's see, that's bad advertising right there.
Where were you in that?
Well, yeah. Has anyone heard of Anchor Hawking?
Nope.
That's why they went under.
Right.
Mhm.
Didn't have, well,
Well, I also did their
He
first
was there.
commercial,
Yeah.
and so they didn't like me.
Yeah.
Let's do the next one.
John
Oh.
Swift got in a time machine. Okay.
Jay, and you have to do the sound effects.
This one is for Autolite.
Hmm.
And Otto, one of the characters is an anthropomorphic car.
Yeah. Guess what his name is?
His name's Otto.
Otto.
Oh, wait, I get it. So to offer a bit of direction, Otto has a deep, rumbly voice, sort of like a car engine. Hey there, Ryan. That sort of thing. And so it starts with Otto addressing a guy named Harlow, who is mostly our announcer. And I guess has been waiting at his front porch for the limousine to show up. And the limousine does show up. Limousine's name is Otto. And we're on in 3,
Well, you're first.
2, 1.
Evening, Harlow.
Well, Oscar Otto, the loquacious limousine, and in top form.
Sure, Harlow. And it's because I'm equipped with an Autolite electrical system.
Ah, then you must have an Autolite starting motor, generator, battery, coil distributor, and a set of Autolite spark plugs, plus all the other important parts that go to make up the complete Autolite electrical system, used as original equipment on many leading makes of our finest cars, trucks, and tractors.
Oh, you bet I do, Harlow.
That means every unit and component part of your Autolite electrical system is related by Autolite engineering design and manufacturing skill to give the smoothest performance money can buy.
Well, that's why my owner, always insists on Autolite original factory parts.
And friends, you'll find it pays to insist on Autolite original factory parts for your insists on Autolite equipped car. Because from bumper to taillight, you're always right with Autolite.
That was awful. By them and us.
And I would just say though, that may have been awful, but dude, your last room, that was actually brilliant. That should have been in the
Non-scripted.
script.
Non-scripted.
Because
if
that
I
was
had been in
non-scripted,
that,
folks, for our listener at home, that was
room.
non-scripted. And I will also say that we didn't talk about this earlier in the whole advertising world, but one of the most important things about advertising has been that little tagline, that little jingle, that little something that makes you remember. And it's like, and that one is here. You're always right with Autolite.
That's a tagline, and there is a lot of that.
There's a lot going on right there.
When you're overrun with ants and rats, don't forget to comb the grass.
Yeah, they're the best.
Because you don't even need they're the best.
So-
You just don't forget to call my grats.
So, a tagline is is kind of everything, right? You're supposed to sum everything up into one simple idea, and just do it is kind of the holy grail. Always has been. You can, and there's Nike in general. You can have the swoosh, and you don't even have to say Nike anymore, and you just know what it is. Just do it can apply to a million different things. And kudos to people for not changing it. Like, there's brand fatigue, and it's restlessness and self-consciousness on a marketing department's fault.
RBS
point. Yeah,
restless brand syndrome.
Well, they get freaked out and feel like they have to change something, and sometimes you just don't.
Yeah, Z Jennings knew better. You don't have to change it. So, fellas, I believe this brings us to the conclusion of our topic.
Well, just so you know, folks, you have been listening to Bottom of the Barrel. I've learned that I am not to be hired in Houston anymore. That's great news.
No,
not in the 90s.
That was a long time ago. We forgot.
Oh, now I can be hired. Okay, good news. Good news for me.
All the people that issued those edicts are long since dead.
they're gone.
Thanks to Jay.
It's back to the wild, wild west for John Swizzy.
All right. Woo!
So,
all right. With that, I guess we're going to call this one a D and done deal. And
what's our tagline then? How are we going to end this one?
If you like to listen to podcasts, then call McGrath's to
McGrath's ain't gonna work.
Leia
Auto Light.
Good night, everyone.
Well, we did it. We finally hit bottom. I knew we could. Thanks, everybody. If you'd like to learn more about this finely distilled product, visit bottomofthebarrelpodcast.com, where you can find our previous episodes, merch, and even some Patreon options. If you want to tell us how smart we are, or how stupid we are, or if you have a topic you want us to dive into, hit us up on our socials. Bottom of the Barrel Podcast is on Instagram, X, and YouTube. Research, writing, and hosting duties for Bottom of the Barrel are taken up by John Swayze, Kyle Jones, and Jay Hickman. Our producer and sound engineer is Dave Lasco. Our business and digital manager is Olivia Swayze. And our composer-arranger is Jonathan Benjamin. We also offer our sincere appreciation to our collaborators, without whom we'd merely be floating somewhere around the middle of the barrel. Big thanks to Afshar Karat, Keegan Dalio, and Patrick Marrero. Finally, we'd once again like to thank our sponsor, What the Dead Can Do, a thriller by Peter Roche, who you can find at peterroche.com. That's PETERROSCH.com. We'll see you next time.
Come on down to Uncle Stubby's Liquor Ammo and Tackle. We got everything you need for your next big fishing, drinking, shooting weekend. We got tall boys, jig baits, and all the points. We got beef jerky, jello shots, and live worms. We got propane, taco salad, and monkeys for the kids. If you can't find what you need at Uncle Stubby's Liquor Ammo and Tackle, then you ain't at Uncle Stubby's Liquor Ammo and Tackle. We're located off FM 1066, just past the Throckmorton Memorial Landfill. Uncle Stubby's, we're gonna save you money. Hablamos español.